A new federal grand jury in place, or at least we're now aware that it is in place, taking a look into Sean Diddy Combs. This is separate from the sex trafficking allegations and that investigation where his home was raided a bit more than a month ago now. This is taking a look much more closely at the people who filed civil lawsuits against him and those folks who popped up in the video footage at his house. We've not seen that, but the authorities have obtained that. Joining me to discuss, Joni Johnston, forensic psychologist. This is looking darker and darker for Diddy as the days go on. I should have had another D in there to really make that rhyme. What's been your thoughts as far as this thing continues to move forward?
It's just it's snowballing.
Hmm.
I mean, I think it's turning into an avalanche. And it is interesting sometimes because we've seen this happen before with other celebrities,
Hmm.
where it started out with one person making an accusation or some rumors starting, and then people start coming forward. And all of a sudden, we start seeing this just snowball of
Hmm.
people coming forward. And I think two questions always come up in this situation. One is, how could this go on for so long,
Hmm.
without there being some action taken or some consequences? I mean, it's kind of mind boggling. And I think the other thing is, that it's to some extent, I think maybe the same things that protected him for so long. This public
Hmm.
image, the fame, I mean, all those things that happen. I think once that avalanche starts,
Hmm.
I think, eh, you know, the public turns. I mean, I
Yeah.
think, there's a backlash that happens because there's such outrage, when you start seeing those things that surface.
And how much do you believe that outrage will continue to compel potential victims here, or alleged victims of Diddy, to start coming forward, who may have in the past been very reluctant to, just because they wanted to continue on with their lives and not have to keep reliving these alleged nightmares over and over again?
I think whenever you have a high profile person who's accused of anything, there is a tremendous amount of fear in terms of coming forward, a sense
Mhm.
that I'll never be believed or I'll be punished or there'll be consequences. Maybe not even from that person, but from their associates, from their fans. I mean, there's a
Mhm.
lot at stake when you're
Yeah.
thinking about coming forward and accusing somebody who's in the public arena. I think once there's a support.
Hmm.
I think a person starts feeling that the tide is turning, that somebody else has kind of taken that first step to do that. I think that it provides a huge amount of safety, or for other people to come forward and say this happened to me too.
And a lot of these allegations stem from many years ago. Many of them, the statute of limitations has passed. When the grand jury hears the testimony that some of these folks are going to be in for giving at some time soon, what kind of evidence are they going to be looking for? What kind of information are they going to be able to gather that's going to paint a clearer picture, or maybe able to paint a clearer picture with some absolute, finite, direction here of, yeah, it looks like he was doing these things. You don't have it necessarily on camera. It didn't just happen a month ago, but consistency wise.
Yeah, I think, if you're thinking about being on a jury, what would you be looking for? You're going to be looking for um, consistency among stories. You're going to be looking at what are the other possible motivations for people to come forward. In other words, do people have secondary gain issues that they're trying to get? You're going to be looking at how credible that person is. That, of course, comes into play when we're talking about are there any other motives? Is there any other kind of video evidence?
Hmm.
So you're going to be looking at corroboration. You're going to be looking at consistency of stories. You're going to be looking at a pattern of conduct. And of course, the more victims you have coming forward, you see that pattern of conduct.
Hmm.
Are the stories pretty similar? So I think they're going to be looking at all those things and evaluating, did this person do these things? What is the evidence? Who are the people speaking for? How credible are they? The other thing that I would be looking for too is, these victims, they may not have come forward publicly,
Hmm.
but most people who experience some kind of traumatic experience, they tell somebody.
Hmm.
They tell, it could be a friend,
Yeah.
it could be a minister, it could be a parent. And I think those stories also can be very, very compelling for the juries to hear that, no, I didn't go to Fox News, or I didn't go to the police, but here are other people that I did tell who can come forward and say, yeah, this person did tell me this. So I think all those things will be important.
There's obviously when someone has trauma, if they seek mental health help for it, which I'm going to imagine with the amount of accusations that we've heard against Diddy, I'm hoping several have gone and talked to a psychologist or a psychiatrist or whoever, a counselor, to try and work through some of the trauma that they've gone through. That in itself is going to be interesting. You had mentioned earlier about a friend, a pastor, family member, whoever it may be that they talk to. But when you have someone like that, someone, a doctor, or someone who is taking notes on this in a professional setting, more so than just, hey, your friend's testifying that they're agreeing with you that you said these things, can that be even more powerful in a case like this if they were to say, hey, go talk to my psychologist? It's in the notes showing on this date I talked about this then.
100%, because not only can that therapist talk about the fact that this happened, they're going to have documented details
Hmm.
about what their client said during that time, and they're also going to be able to speak to the trauma
Hmm.
and the impact that they witnessed in their client as related to these sexual misconduct. So that could be a very, very powerful testimony.
I think another interesting piece of testimony that we've seen was from Diddy himself originally, saying, I had nothing to do with this. These are all false allegations. These people are out to get money, love, and everything he says. I mean, basically just flat out harshly denying it all. And in sometimes, defaming and saying horrible things about the victims themselves or the alleged victims themselves. And then when the hotel video comes out, pretty much confirms a lot of the things that Cassie had in her civil suit against him, like word for word. Diddy says this.
I mean, I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I had to go into therapy, and go into rehab. Had to ask God for his mercy and grace. I'm so sorry. But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
What should anyone walk away from that video feeling, especially the people that he has victimized?
I think they're going to be, pretty darn skeptical
Yeah.
about how genuine he is. Because look, people can make mistakes. They can make horrible mistakes.
Hmm.
People can be sorry for what they do. But I think one of the things you can't get away from is the timing of
Hmm.
this apology. So if you're truly sorry about something that you've done, maybe you were under the influence of drugs and alcohol. We can think of lots of reasons somebody might attribute their behavior to, as horrendous as that video is. I'm not going to make any excuses for the behavior on that video because there is no excuse
No.
for it. But let's just say this person has, I'm a different person now. I've learned or whatever. You know, then we should see this reflected in your behavior from that point on.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're defaming other people, that you're talking trash about other people, that you're denying other things that you've done, that you denied this, it just completely undermines, anything that you're saying now.
Yeah. He certainly has a credibility problem, and I don't know that he can really recover from any of this at this point. But let's talk about that idea of apologizing, of saying, "Look, I was a horrible person. Whatever made me do this, and he was at his rock bottom. Blah 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 blah. But I've changed. I'm better." Um, does that ever really happen with someone who's capable of doing these sort of things? I mean, it seems to me kind of like you're capable of stomping on a woman at some point in your life, and tons of people have made this allegation against you. So there seems to be a trend of this that you tend to do when you're in a relationship with a partner. Um, I don't know. Some of these things just, I mean, they don't really seem that fixable, or that they're ever truly going to change their heart to believe that that's not what they should be doing.
I have to say I'm somewhat of an optimist.
Yeah.
I guess it serves me well being in my job. But I have worked with many, many offenders.
Hmm.
Used to work at a maximum security prison, and
Yeah.
I deal with individuals who've been convicted of violent offenses regularly. I have seen people change. I
Okay.
have seen people who've done horrendous things, particularly in their adolescence and young
Hmm.
adulthood,
Sure.
that they are now 40 years old, 45 years old, and they are different people. But I will tell you, they have done a tremendous amount of work
Yeah.
to get from where they were to where they are now. It's not something that just happens just because you get older.
Yeah.
And so I do believe that people can change, they can learn, they can grow, they can make amends, they can do all kinds of things. But again, it's not something that just happens because you get older. And you also would expect to see some things along the way. So,
Yeah.
what good has this person done? How is this person treating, women now? I mean, there's all kinds of markers and measures we would need to see to
Yeah.
give credibility to those kind of statements.
And he's certainly far from his adolescence. He's in his early 50s now. And we've just seen this trend continue, if not escalate, if these allegations all turn out to be true. So getting older, not necessarily the motivation to change. But I mean, when you get caught like this, I mean, had this
Yeah,
video not come out, I don't see
yeah,
any change. The video is out. Does that
yeah.
make someone change when you get caught?
Well, I think it makes people sorry a lot of times, but they're sorry because they got caught.
Yeah.
You much more often, when they're apologizing in that situation, that tends to be the underlying message. Yeah, I am sorry. I'm sorry that this video is out.
Hmm.
I'm sorry that I can't continue to deny what I've been denying for all these years. I'm sorry that there might be consequences I'm going to face now
Yeah.
that I haven't faced for years.
It's going to be interesting to watch as all this continues and the grand jury testimony that's going to be coming up, and where that leads. It's likely behind bars for Diddy, but time will tell. Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to follow us wherever you download podcasts, and especially Apple Podcasts, where you can get advanced episode and premium content on our premium channel right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss any breaking updates on the stories that matter to you most. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski, and you'll find us right there. Again, thanks for watching.